Welcome to the Love and Victory Show with Val, where we will bring you candid conversation. In each conversation, we will talk about real life ups and downs while tackling unresolved matters. We will also unmask issues and truly speak straightforward and candid about our needs and brokenness, while allowing ourselves to exhale so that we can become victorious. This is a place where you can be open to the possibilities of living life in abundance while gaining tools to become bold and complete. So let's get to it. Welcome back to the Love and Victory Show with Val. I understand that we had a little extra entertainment going on behind the scenes. We thought we were on mute and conversation was going on. So y'all got to hear a little, I guess what other people call Patreon. That's okay. Then anytime you're working with technology, things can happen. So we're getting ready to jump in. And before I get going, Brother Carter.
Yes, ma'am.
You know that cut the crap. I just got to say it one more time. I absolutely love cut the crap. Mm-hmm. So cut the crap. I'm gonna do it one more time.
You gonna get the ladies on
the engine. Mm-hmm. Our guest coming on. I'm gonna give you guys a moment, real quick, to give me your cut. Did y'all hear us saying about the cut the crap? So y'all wasn't listening? Coming to the show, y'all have no idea what cut the crap. Did you hear it?
I did.
Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's a real one. I'm gonna give you more airtime than these people in the studio. Okay. So what is your cut the crap for today? Well, before you do that, go ahead and introduce yourself since you did here. Would you like for me to introduce?
Give an example of what cut the crap is first.
Okay, well, you give it to him. There you go.
My cut the crap was about the politicians taking confidential and classified information to their homes. Cut the crap. You know better. You know protocol when it comes to when you have a secret clearance or top secret clearance and all this stuff. You know what you can and cannot do. And a lot of these things you can be fined, fired, or even imprisoned. And none of this is happening to these politicians for some reason unknown
to him. Just cut the crap. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. If y'all haven't heard anything about Brother Carter is the one that's on my side that I have to constantly stay on my knees with. And
I tells the truth.
There is no filter. So y'all keep the Love and Victory Show in prayer. But I love him telling the truth.
The truth.
All righty then. I think this is.
We wanted to tell the audience to ask us some questions about today's show. Let's talk a little bit about today's show. Yeah. And while we are introducing the show and going over our acronym, if you guys could just leave us questions, we'll do a Q&A time before the show starts and after the show ends.
Yes.
So just leave your questions in. I'll be reading and pinning those comments and we'll leave them for our Q&A time.
Thank you, Abigail, for reminding me. There's so much going on today. Mm-hmm. I think I kind of got thrown off when they was I was getting these text messages and they were saying they were hearing me. So it kind of took me off my game a little bit.
That's okay. The show must go on.
The show must go on.
Exactly.
Okay, then. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce everyone. And then after I introduce you guys, before we get started, if you can, do a quick cut the crap. Okay? Dr. Sims, I don't know why you looked at me like that. You're coming for you first. You don't have nothing bothers you?
I mean,
nothing.
Somebody cut you off on the road this morning?
You know.
Oh, you took mine.
Okay, then. Okay.
That's an easy cut crap right there. That happened to us all.
So actually, Abigail, if you can, go ahead and introduce our guests.
All right. So our guests are... Okay. So our guests we have Karen Jubert over here on my left.
Karen.
There's Karen.
And then joining her today virtually, we have Dr. Stephen Jubert Jr. If you want to say hello to everybody, Stephen. They can't hear you when I'm talking, so it's a little weird. So we'll give you a second to speak afterwards.
So Karen and Stephen are brothers and sisters?
We are aunt and nephew.
Aunt and nephew. Okay, then. Good
Keep
job.
it in the family.
Okay.
Okay.
Then we have Dr. Kourtney Sims over here.
Yes.
Friend of the show. She's been on the show before. And then we actually have a friend of me. Her name is Amanda Galvez over here. We went to school together. You may have heard us chatting about that during a little technical difficulty. But yes, Amanda is a friend of mine, and this is her first time being on the show.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
And
And
welcome to the show.
welcome to the Love and Victory Show. And Dr. Stephen Jubert,
Yes.
what is your crap? I'm not moving on. Y'all gonna give me a cut to crap. What is your cut?
My cut to crap is to stop talking trash about reality TV, because that's what my pastime is.
Oh, okay. Cut to crap. I like that. That's a good one. Okay. Anybody just jump in there.
Yeah, you go get on my case because I talk crap about reality TV.
You can't talk about it, right?
I don't watch it. What I watch?
You look at Marriage in Huntsville. Was that
Love and Marriage.
Love and Marriage Huntsville?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's reality TV.
Oh, they have some realness in that.
No, no.
So see, that's still reality.
See,
TV.
Amanda, what's
I
your
don't
cut
know.
to crap?
It's too early.
Okay, we're gonna keep. Okay.
Waking
She
up
say cut the
early.
crap. It's
Right.
too early.
That's it.
Okay, that's
My alarm.
What's yours?
So my first career was as an engineer.
Uh-huh.
And so it just gets on me when people look at me like, oh, you were an engineer? Like I'm a woman and I couldn't
Can't
be
do
an
it.
engineer. Yeah.
So cut the crap.
Cut the crap.
All right
I
then.
like that.
I like
Crap
that.
thinking a black woman
That's a
can't
good
be
one.
an engineer.
Exactly.
Or a black man can't have doctor in the head. Cut the crap.
Okay. Dr. Sims.
I still don't have.
Oh my
It's another
God.
I'm
doctor.
trying to be positive. This new year, 2023. I want to be positive. No cutting the crap. Cut the
So
crap
do
with not
people-
being positive. How about that?
Do people tell you go what? Oh, you a real doctor? Do they-
Well, it's not so much that are you a real doctor? It's even the thought that you're a doctor at all.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So
cut
you're
the-
always some other professional, maybe a nurse or a aide, but not necessarily the doctor.
Not doctor.
Mhm.
Cut the crap.
We gotta cut the
I
crap.
gave you one.
There you go. Cut the
You
crap.
saved me. Thank you.
Well, again, we're gonna go ahead and do the acronym and get this show popping. All righty then, let's go.
Alrighty, the acronym for the day is empathy, and this goes kind of along with what we're talking about today. Let me pull that up for you. So E is for embrace, to take or clasp in the arms, hug, or adopt. M is for meaningful, full of meaning, significance, purpose, or value. P is philanthropy, the activity of donating to such persons or purposes in this way, altruistic concern for human welfare and advancement. Sorry, I lost my place. Usually manifested by donations of money, property to work or needy persons. A is for authentic, representing one's true nature or beliefs, true to oneself or to the person, identities, not false or copied, genuine and real. T is for trust, reliance on integrity, strength, ability, surety, and then confidence as well. H is for helpful, giving or rendering aid or assistance. And then Y, I just made the word yourself, because I feel like when we have a lot of empathy, sometimes we forget about ourselves and we don't put ourselves forward. So I wanted that last word to just kind of remind you to don't forget about yourself and your self-care. And you want to do the right thing and you want to be empathetic for people. Some of us have to be, whether, you're a mom and you have to be there for your kids or your family, or
But you have to think about you.
but you have to think about you, because if you don't put yourself first, then everything else is going to fall.
Well, I'm gonna hang on that you a little while longer, because if you don't, we can come back in. Yes, if you don't keep yourself healthy, then you can't be healthy for others. So it's really important that you have that you. You think about that you. That you is so important. All
That
right.
word itself is important. Where was the empathy for that young man in Memphis when the 5 policemen beat him mercilessly?
Well,
Where was some empathy in that?
Well, it was none. Those people had none. So I want to just jump on in here, and we're going to go. And the way this show for all the newcomers coming in. That's a part of this show. I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much. I throw a question out there as a way to start a conversation. It's not just a bunch of questions, question and answer. It is a way to start a conversation. We must be honest. We must, and look at it from this standpoint. Our whole mission here is to help someone outside of ourselves. So your story, your experience is hopefully it's going to come across that it's going to change someone's life today. No, we know it will. So that's why
authentic and transparent.
So what is compassion fatigue, and do you experience this? Anyone can take it. Actually, I think I'm going to start with Karen.
All right. Well, first, thank you for the invitation to be here. I'm so excited to have this conversation and to start off whenever Dr. Jubert and I have a conversation about compassion fatigue, we actually start off with two things before we even go into the definition.
Okay.
So one thing, we always give a content warning because the very essence of talking about compassion fatigue, we're talking about trauma and traumatic experiences. So we invite our audiences and our listeners to, if something comes up that's triggering or you're having an emotional response, it's okay to just step aside for the moment, mute, get some water, get some deep breaths, and then come back into the conversation. So we always do that first when we're talking about compassion fatigue.
Oh, well, you know what? Can you repeat that again? Because I have to remember this. I told you, you're going to get something out of this show. I'm going to get mine. I want everything that God has given me this morning.
Yes.
What do I need to do when I get a trigger? Tell me again.
Yes, you need to pause, step away, get some water, take some breaths.
Okay. All right.
Because you're calming the energy in your mind and your body, and then you're coming back to the conversation.
So mine may not be in that order. What I do usually I'm telling y'all the truth.
Yeah.
What I usually do is
Tell them about last night, Val.
I go to the other room. I will walk away. I will end a conversation. I will just stop talking. That works for me.
Well, you are pausing and stepping away.
Okay.
So you got two.
I got two out of the way.
That's right.
Now the water part,
it'll be a liquid.
It'll be a liquid.
It doesn't have to be water.
Okay.
Well, that's my beverage of choice when I'm stepping away, but you can use whatever it is that calms the energy in your mind and your body. The water is hydrating.
Okay.
It sends oxygen to your brain. You're breathing while you're drinking. And then you're also noticing
so long as I'm drinking and I'm breathing, it's okay, right? Okay, got you.
Yes, we're on the same page. Yeah, you're doing all
right. That's why I had you sit next to me.
Other than water.
I've been showing you that for years.
But I drink tea, don't I?
Tea is good.
Tea is one of my favorite drinks. My team can say that. Now, I don't necessarily know what's in the tea, but anyway. Okay, they were great. Thank you. Thank you for that.
So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is to make you aware that compassion fatigue is not a diagnosis. It's a set of symptoms. So when we start the conversation, we don't want people to tune out thinking like, I don't want to get a diagnosis. I don't want to be connected with this term, but it's just being aware of your experience. So we try to just introduce the conversation in that way because it helps it be a little bit more receptive to talking about it. And then also that self-awareness comes in a little bit better.
Okay. So I'm okay. Okay. I'm okay. All righty then. Well, I think I'm going to move to your counterpart up there. So I'm going to ask a question again. If you could, what is compassion and fatigue? And do you experience this as an individual?
Awesome. Well, thank you all for having us today. And so compassion fatigue is simply the reduced capacity to be empathetic and to feel compassionate about people that you might be working with. And so we often see this in particular professions, whether it's the clergy, whether it's first responders. And one of the things that really drew me to this work is I'm a college administrator. And so I begin to see it in the work that I do as we begin to serve students. So anytime that there is a group of people that are providing a service and receiving and serving people, you have a chance of experience compassion fatigue, because another symptom of compassion fatigue is burnout. And so, in burnout can be when you are feeling overwhelmed with stress, frustration, or hopelessness. And then it's also about if you are able, or if you're experiencing what we would consider secondary trauma or vicarious trauma, which is taking on the trauma of other people. And so we will see compassion fatigue in that result.
Okay, now you gave me, okay, so I'm Val. Okay, I'm Val. You gave me the definition, but the question that I asked, do you? So tell me, do you experience, and how do you, what is your compassion fatigue, and have you ever experienced it yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I have. And, I think that as we kind of navigate working with individuals, you do experience that. And so in my line of work, I often get a chance to see students in particular, sometimes at their most highest moments and sometimes at their lowest moments. And so there are moments when I might not have the energy to kind of navigate different circumstances. And so I understand when I'm experiencing compassion fatigue, it shows up in, for me, not wanting to go to the gym, not feeling like I'm ready to, like I'm sleeping enough, and or sometimes even not wanting to not even wanting to engage with others. And when I am experiencing compassion fatigue, I think it's important for me to find the things that settle me, that recenters me, and that's important. And so when we have these conversations, we really talk to people about really finding what centers them, whether it's your family, whether it's your loved ones, your chosen family. That's really important, because you have to find ways of really rejuvenating yourself as you are navigating and really supporting and serving others.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Okay, I'm going to actually I'll come right back to you. I'm going to ask Dr. Sims, as a physician that is dealing with it, patients, especially females. So Dr. Sims is I'm going to say OBGYN, but she does so much more. Women, we tend to sometime as mothers and as women put our healthcare on the back burner for everything else. How do you deal with fatigue or compassion fatigue when you're a mother as well? And then you have friends like myself that
I have to support.
Yeah.
Well, I think as a physician, what we hear most often is burnout, like what he was referring to. We don't really see it as compassion fatigue, although that's what it is. They most often talk about it as physician burnout or provider burnout, because it's kind of inherent in the nature of being a good physician. You have to be empathetic. You have to hold space for people. You have to have compassion to be an effective provider. So if you're, as a physician, they'll give you some signs, like in terms of whether or not you're starting to not hold that empathy for people, you're being shorter with your patients are telling you what's going on, and you tend to feel like you're less responsive, or you don't care as much. That's these are like all red flags that you need to step away. Well, it's more so, inherent in being a physician is always holding that space. So whenever you hold that space for people all the time, year after year after year, you can burn out. You can just normally experience compassion fatigue. And I think, like everyone else has said, anyone who's in a caring profession, so teachers, nurses, doctors, first responders, police, I mean, anyone who's in a caring position.
Healthcare consultants.
Everyone, right. Anyone in a service position
yes.
where you have to be empathetic and really try to put yourself in someone else's shoes and see things from their perspective. I think that can engender a certain degree of fatigue.
I think I can honestly say I can relate to that for the first time last year. 2023 was really tough for me. And it kind of leading up to that, I had a lot of things that was going on with me, in of course, with personal and then business, and just a lot of things going on. And I actually can say toward the end, I really started to feel get to the place of compassion. Burnout. Yes.
Burnout. And you have to take, you have to really always stay keyed into yourself and have that time for yourself. And when you notice that, I feel like when the candle is burning at both ends, you really need to just be authentic with yourself and say, I might need to step away. I might need to restructure my schedule. I might need to schedule some time to really pour back into myself.
Well, actually what I did, and I really, it helped me. I shut down for 2 weeks. I didn't do any work. I actually closed my business. I gave my team off. I literally shut down, and I really needed to. And that was a big sacrifice. I'm not going to lie. That was a sacrifice on the pockets, but it was something I needed to do for myself. So now I'm going to turn to my friend. Have you ever experienced compassion fatigue? And then tell me, what do you do? Your first responder.
So I'm an EMT. I also do medical assistant duties and an X-ray tech at an urgent care, one of the busiest urgent cares in Houston, proudly. But yes, I have experienced compassion fatigue. I worked all through the pandemic. I picked up as much as I could. Instead of, I guess, getting laid off, I was really lucky to have a job. So I took advantage of that and just worked as much as I could. Everything was closed anyway. I actually celebrated my 21st birthday at work. I worked a 12-hour shift that day. It was really busy. I remember just serving the community and everything. But I guess towards the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, I did start to feel it. Like they all said, you kind of start to lose yourself a little bit and you don't really realize it's happening until you're like,
you hit that wall.
You kind of hit a wall and you kind of have to take a step back and check yourself a little bit, because compassion fatigue can be dangerous, especially in our career in healthcare. So you have to take care of yourself, and that's kind of what I had to do is start doing more things that I like, kind of stop picking up all these extra shifts, and just started to do things that I liked on my days off, even if it was just walking around Target. Like I just wanted to take time for myself. And
for me, had I not gotten that drop, the Love and Victory show in my spirit, I think I probably would have broken. Because the Love and Victory show truly has been such a blessing, not just to people that are listening, but to me personally and to my husband. So as I say, every Saturday, not only do the guests and the people that are listening walk away with something, I walk away with something. So I'm just grateful for this. It's a way to conversations and really kind of expressing and getting some of that stuff off your chest. Has been life-changing for me. I know you said that you had something to say. You want to go ahead?
I was just going to add to the other part of compassion fatigue, in addition to the burnout, and Dr. Jubert started talking about it, is exposure to trauma. And that probably shows up a lot with you as an EMT. So counselors as well, and even if you're mentors to individuals and they're sharing their trauma experiences with you, that can also result in experiencing compassion fatigue. If you have to write reports up about traumatic experiences, or if you're witnessing the aftermath of a traumatic event, even a natural disaster, like Hurricane Harvey or the winter storm, that can be trauma resulting in that, and that compassion fatigue can set up in those who are responding and caring for and supporting. So that's the two elements of compassion fatigue: the burnout, and then that exposure to others' trauma over time.
And I think this can happen to just about any profession. I think anyone that's caring and like to serve other people outside of themselves can experience this. And I think it's important that, often when you're a compassionate and loving person, you don't seem to receive that back sometimes. And so that can be very exhausting at sometimes. And so that's why that last part she had on the acronym of yourself, you need to take time out for yourself and just
and I think it's good that you say that, because I think it's not so much that they don't see what a person is giving. I think they don't recognize that you need it, and then you don't communicate how you need it, because they think that they're giving it to you, but it's not in the way that you need it. And so,
well, I think some of us, we need to practice drawing better boundaries, right? Because it's so easy to continually pour into others, and then you get to a point of deficiency and you don't realize it. And then once you set up that relationship, sometimes even when you try to establish that boundary and take the time for yourself, then there's some pushback because other people are used to getting a certain dose from you and they're not getting that anymore. And they think they've done something wrong. And it really has nothing to do with them. It really just all has to do with you trying to recharge your own battery so you can continue to give.
That's really good. I mean, I like that part. What you just said. You're setting up boundaries. You need to set up boundaries and healthy boundaries.
It's healthy.
It's healthy.
It's healthy for you to have some.
Yes, absolutely.
How does your career field affect you today and your mood? Your career chart and your career field affect you today in your mood. Does it affect your mood? I'm
good way, bad way, or
whatever. It doesn't matter. How does it affect you? I'll say for me, I'll take it.
Go ahead.
My career field today, now that I've experienced compassion fatigue, it's a name for it, or just being exhausted. What it's done for me now, I can honestly say it's helped me to step back because for 30-something years, healthcare is all I knew. And I am a natural giver, and all I wanted to do is help. I didn't want to deal with the blood, but I wanted to make sure that physicians, practices, and just anyone that is serving people had a successful practice. That was my reasoning 20 years ago, walking away from corporate America. However, I was very, what's the word? I spent so much time forgetting about myself and actually putting my family and putting everybody on the back burner for everyone else so that their success, it really took a toll. I thank God, and I say it all the time, for my husband, because he was always there encouraging me, but at the same time, I was hiding what it was doing to me. And so I've learned this year that the latter part of last year, it's okay for me to say, boundaries. No, we're not going to talk about work if you're my friend after hours. We're not going to talk about work because we're hanging out. There is a time that I do work and there is a time that I do friends. And so I had to put those boundaries.
Prioritizing things these days.
Yes, because it was literally making me not enjoy my career, how I pay my bills anymore. So that was for me. All righty then. Anybody else want to jump in there? Christian, you have a question for me. Okay.
Yes, we have a question from the audience. This is from John Lubersant on YouTube. He said, now this isn't Q&A time, but I did think that this would provoke a good conversation between everybody. Has there ever been a type of situation where you needed to choose between your family and work?
Oh, wow.
I can take that.
Okay, go ahead, doctor. Go ahead.
So for me, definitely so. Because, I came out as an OBGYN. I took solo practice because I was so connected to my patients for the first 5 years of my practice. And then at a certain point, I had to make a choice between my family and my 2 children and the children that I was helping to deliver. So I had to make some shifts in my career and go, drop the OB part, focus on the gynecology part, and kind of expand that into my integrative practice, which has really helped me because I'm telling other people what they need to do for stress management. And I'm telling other people what they need to do for balance. So it helps me try to remember to take my own advice. But I had to make that shift. And I always tell people.
Sound like a good preacher.
Yeah, well, that day that I gave it up, I felt like I gained a decade on my life because it's just, sometimes I feel like you have to make shifts, and we're in a culture where it's all about work.
Yeah.
And it's never about, individualizing that work and making it look like what you need it to look like. So I feel like it's very good for you to kind of take ownership and craft your own career and your own directional path to make it really fit for your life, especially as a woman, especially as a mother. I feel like that's extremely important for you to be able to design the career that you want.
I actually like that you said that, because you do that. That's a huge responsibility, bringing life into the world, and then also having a child for someone else, and then also having your own family and your own children that you that you have to take care of. And so making that decision, I commend you for that.
Well, it's for both purposes, right? Remember how we said that you have to be able to hold space for people. And when you find that being more and more challenging, sometimes you have to make some shifts in order to still be able to maintain your compassion. So better for me to shift my practice and focus on something that's more integrative and flexible than to continue to burn myself out, because otherwise I'm not helping anyone if I burn myself up to crispy toast.
I think
this is not a one and done thing.
Not, especially not as a doctor.
Right,
you want to be able to practice and give that knowledge. Like really, a lot of doctors don't really retire. We kind of go to like part-time.
Yes.
But I mean, would you really want to if you got 20, 30, 40 years of medical knowledge?
Right.
You want to continue to be able to give that out and serve people as long as you can.
Wow.
Amen.
Wow, that was excellent. I see you sitting up forward. You have something you want to jump in on?
I just agree with.
Oh, okay then. Anybody else want to answer that question or have anything to add to the question from the listener?
You know, I would say that. Oh,
Go ahead.
Yeah. You know, I would say that I think that for me, we were talking about boundaries earlier, and a part of my boundary for me in the work that I do is being able to have that connection with my family. And so that's a way for me to not experience compassion fatigue and burnout, is by connecting with my family, because that's where I'm rejuvenating. So it's a boundary for me in the work that I do to really not feel like I need to respond to email after hours during the weekend. So when I have my time, I'm having my time. So creating that boundary for me is where I see there is a chance for me to have work interfere with my family, but it's also important for me to make sure that I'm creating a line for me to be able to have my own life and be able to connect with my family, and to not allow my work to interfere. Because I tell people all the time, you know, that in the work that I do, if I fall out today or tomorrow, they're going to replace me and have someone else in that role, you know. And so, but me being and spending time with my family is priceless, you know, and to carry and to catch those moments and memories that I'm making there. So, and that's where the rejuvenation comes from me. So when I do these conversations, it's important for me to share with folks, to figure out what those boundaries are, and to understand that the work is going to be there. And we will always have our family, and that's where I center my energy.
That's good.
It's good.
I think that's easy to say though, so it's hard to do, right? The cutting off, especially, you know, like trying to get people to understand, you know, you're sending me an email at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I'm not in my inbox at 8 o'clock.
I think it's getting past the guilt. You know, I think a lot of times we have guilt issues because we feel the need. Remember, let's go back to what Brother Carter said. People that are natural givers and really trying to help other people out, what do? You always want to be there to help them out. And so you move to this place of trying to set healthy boundaries. And in that early process of trying to set healthy boundaries, you're also going through this place of guilt. Well, I'm cutting them off. I mean, I'm not a license per se that, but I'm talking about how I felt. I'm cutting them off. I'm setting boundaries, but I also feel a little guilty because I'm doing this. Am I kind of leaving them out? Am I being mean? But I had to stand in that. And I'm speaking even from a mother with grown children.
Well, did you ever have any like pushback in that?
Of course.
Like before when I first started putting on my, you know, out of office response after a certain time, like letting, you know, this is like, I'm out, I'll be back at this time. You know, I would get pushback from people. Like, I don't like this auto response. I need a response.
Well, I got a lot of
You need to be available at all.
I got a lot of pushback, and since we have 2 doctors in the house, because that's who I work with, they'll figure out other ways. They'll call you on your cell phone. And then I had to finally tell one, you know, your family time is important to you, and so is mine. And if we can't respect each other, then this is not going to be a good working environment. So
That the doctor to my left, you said?
No, absolutely not. No, he's so messy. Y'all see, he is so messy. No, it's not. But I had to do that because just for that reason, because when they finished with their clinic, when they finished with their surgery, when they were free, then they wanted to talk. Well, my time is off. And so they felt like I should be available then. So I had to.
I was just going to say, we train people how to treat us.
Yes. Yes.
So when you turn your phone off at 7 and you're not responding and they don't get a response, then they know. Well, doctor, that you don't answer your phone after, Dr. Kourtney doesn't answer her phone after 7 p.m.
Yes.
So you make the boundary known, and the boundary is for you. It's not for the other person. So if you can acknowledge that and receive that for yourself, that when I set a boundary, I'm actually setting it for me. I'm not setting it for other people. It's for something, for a need that I have for my life, for my self-care, for my self-preservation.
I love that.
But that's just so, I think, and I'm sure she could speak to this.
Look at
it's just like for our training, it's like bred out of you.
Yes.
Like, like literally, like when you take your oaths, you're taking an oath to put other people first.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's all about. So to try to say, okay, I've done all this training,
the natural order of things,
right? Like I made this oath, and now I'm trying to like put a boundary here to protect myself. They don't go together. It is hard.
My team is about to go crazy on me over
here. Let me interject this real quick, because the scripture that's involved in this subject matter, I think it has a lot to do with what we're talking about. And I came from Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not onto your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. Now, what I'm hearing is what is very difficult to set these boundaries, just like it's very difficult to trust in the Lord with all your heart, with all your might, and you being your own individual, seeing things the way you see it,
not leaning to your own
right. That's a difficult thing to do. And so we're talking about things, and in theory it sound good, but in actuality it's very difficult to do.
But you just have to, at some point, you have to just make up in your mind, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got to do something different. So I was thinking that was a good one, because it did in line with the scripture. You want to go ahead? You had a question for me?
Actually, it was me. I wanted to add a comment myself.
Okay.
So I wanted to add that, like, y'all were talking about this, and this is something that I experienced. I don't even work in like healthcare. Like I have 2 jobs where I am pretty heavily relied on, but I'm not saving anybody's life. You know what I mean? It's nothing like that. No one's coming to me when they're.
I'm sure your boss those things.
I'm sure she feels like it. So, I find myself like, wanting to put my all into my career and stuff like that, and be there and stuff like that. But I also have, the past few months, I used to work full-time in retail, and I was a manager, and that was worse than anything I could ever recommend to anybody. And so kind of transitioning into these jobs where I'm still pretty important to my bosses, I've been able to kind of find that balance, and Ms. Carter's definitely made it easy for me because she has her boundaries, I have mine, and we definitely have found that balance. But it really has taken a lot of kind of my own mental work. It's not even necessarily the boundaries I set with other people, but the boundaries I set with myself.
Yes.
Like I have to tell myself, like,
it's okay not to answer email.
Yeah, like I can answer in the morning. I wake up early anyways. I'll just answer it in the morning. You know what I mean? And kind of relieve myself of that guilt too.
Very good. Okay, that was actually a good statement, not a question. Did we have a question?
We're saving those for the Q&A.
Okay, then I'm going to take this to Dr. I'm horrible with names. Everybody knows me. I'm just pray for me, okay? Dr. Jubert, right?
Jubert, yeah. Yes.
Okay. Are you the type of person that your friends and family can confide in?
Yes.
The reason for that, but I just want you to tell me that question.
Yeah, I think that I think that I have positioned myself to be able to hold space for people, my family and my friends, and to be a pillar for them in situations that they might be experiencing. I think that as I have positioned myself in that, I've also made it a point to know when I might have a boundary and whether or not I can or have the capacity to hold space. And I think that it's important when we are talking about being a confidant or holding space for someone is to sometimes I would even ask the question, do you have the capacity to hold space for me? And so, but I have been a person to do that, and I think that it's important to look at that, because when you're doing that, again, you're now experiencing someone else's trauma or someone else's experiences, and I think that it's important to really manage how you are taking that information in and how you're compartmentalizing it.
And the reason I asked that question is you're taking that trauma or you're taking that issue in, and it could be something that is really life-changing or could be hurtful. And of course, you're a doctor on one hand, but you're also a friend, and then, or it could be a family member. How do you balance, should I say something? What should I do? Because if I'm coming to you as a friend, or I'm coming to you as a family member, but I'm sharing something, just needing maybe to get it off my chest, but it's something that you know is harmful or it could be harmful to someone else, how would you handle that situation?
You know, I think that for me, if there's something that's causing harm, I think that it's important to share that. I tell people all the time when I'm talking with some folks, I might have to share some things up but not out. And it just depends on the circumstances and the situation. But certainly, if there's something that's really egregious, it's something that I might not be able to hold. But I think that it's important to recognize that if someone is coming to you, they're looking for help, and I might not have all the answers, but I might be able to point you to the resources and to the person or the people that can support you in a different way. Because when you're reaching out for that support. And so I would value the fact that you find me to be a benefit or to be a value to listen to you, but I might not be the person that can support you in the best way. And I want to make sure that you get the help that you would need.
I actually think that is, and anybody can jump in on that. I think that's so important because a lot of times your friends and your family will come to you and that they just may want you to listen. But if you get something, they're saying something and you know that you're not equipped or you're not capable, maybe you can recommend someone or have someone that can don't just hold it. I mean, for me, I would probably never forgive myself if I knew that someone close to me came to me and shared something that was life-changing or and I just held on to it and I didn't try to do something with it. So don't just don't hold on to it. I mean, I don't think you go and break their confidence. I don't think you go share their business, but hopefully you have someone that you can point them in the right direction. I'm looking at you. What is your answer to that question?
What was the question?
The question was, are you the type of person that your friends and family can confide in?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty approachable. I do have a habit of like holding on to it. Maybe that's a boundary I have to work on, is to learn how to like deal with that too and see if I have space for that for me, especially if I'm dealing with my own things. So yeah, they can definitely come to me. I know I can come to them, so it's really like it's very reciprocal.
But you hold on to their trauma
because I want to help them. I kind of absorb it. I just want to be there for them, and maybe that's why I'm in the field that I'm in, is because I want to just be there for everyone. But I'm
Okay, then. Well, I know that I have to take a quick break, and then we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back in. I think, where are we at in the show?
We way down the street,
we're down the street. I know, we're down the street. I love
down the street, around the corner.
Around the corner. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back. We're going to answer some of these questions. I keep seeing one that's coming directly at Mr. Brother Carter and I. We're gonna we really want to take the time for our listeners, because again, if they're putting something out there, we should be able to answer their questions for them. So,
and don't be dismayed if we don't get to your question, because there are many of you that is responding to this conversation here. So we really can't get to everyone, but we will get to you later
Yes.
and answer your questions.
All righty, then. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. We are back. Thank you guys for being understanding. You know, we have to go and take a break, pay a bill, and do whatever else we have to do. So again, we're back with the Love and Victory Show with Val. It's the question and answer section. So let's go in there. Who do you have for us?
All right, let me pull up some of the questions. Let me see.
You were supposed to be ready.
I am ready. I got them. I just got to pick the first one. What we're going to lead with. Okay. We are going to lead with. This is from Millie Bobby Brown. She said, "I have a question, guys. Don't know if it's off topic or not. Have you ever visited any place and you feel unwelcomed there? Because it had happened to me recently and it was really bothering me."
Okay.
Don't you talk about my family.
Okay. It wasn't recent. Y'all see, we're just very honest and very candid, okay? You gotta love us, right? Well, I'm gonna say it's not just your family. When you say it's my family too. But I can honestly say years back when I know she said recent, but it's still my family today. And years back when I would visit my in-laws, it was very uncomfortable. And I found myself, even though I was physically present in the room, I found myself invisible. And most of the time, people don't see you because you're on a mask. And what ends up happening, you wear that mask around that it becomes normal. And so people just tend to look at you as the problem versus the situation being the problem. But I learned through that, and I learned some healthy boundaries for myself. And my husband and I actually learned, and we grew as a team together because I put a mask on for everyone else so that they can be comfortable. But what we did, we ended up going in and I would just start expressing how I would feel. But I had to do it in a healthy way because initially I would just blow as soon as we left the place, and I blew all of my frustrations at him. And so, I had. Anybody want to jump in on that? Okay, I have some doctors in here. Y'all want to diagnose me? That was then. That's not the person I am now. I can talk about it, so I'm in a good place, right? It's when you talk about those things, and a lot of times people are still living in those unhealthy places, and they don't want to talk about it, or they're ashamed, and I'm not.
Okay, I have another question. What are your thoughts on family support? So this can go a couple different directions. I kind of want to stick to the direction of like, do you feel like your family supports you in your job, or do you feel like they're like, no, like stay away from work, come home, or quit your job? You know what I mean? Like, so do you feel like your family supports you in your career?
We'll let someone in here take that. Whoever wants to jump on it.
Well, I'll definitely say I feel like we have a really strong family unit. As you can tell, Dr. Jubert and I are in consulting together, but our family has been fully supportive. So I was talking with Brother Carter. He asked where I was from. I said, born and raised in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and my family members are all over. We have family in Louisiana and other states, but if something is going on, a celebration, someone's in need, we are there for them. And I think that that's really important and helpful, and I feel really blessed that that's the case. I mentioned about doing a career transition, and someone would think, oh, your family may not be supportive. You're going from a lucrative profession to not so lucrative. You know, working in higher ed is not as lucrative as it is being an engineer. But it was more about what was important for me in the decision. And so they were supportive of me making a decision. So it was more of an internal support versus all the outside factors that might be happening.
I think that's very good.
Yeah.
I'll touch on that.
Beyond. Okay.
I feel like my thoughts on family support is very important. I'm lucky enough to have a mom. She's a retired paramedic. My dad was a retired paramedic, firefighter. And then I have 3 brothers who are also like, you go get them. Like working in EMS, it's a very male dominant career. And so you kind of have to show yourself, improve yourself a little bit. And having a family who, my mom is also just pretty awesome. And she's always told me to stick up for myself and everything. So going into that career, having her support, my girlfriend's support, all of them, they're all just I can go home and talk about it and they're not like, ew, stop talking about it. That's gross. Like I can just go home and kind of unload on them and they're super, just go get them. That's doing what you're doing. So yeah, it's really, it makes a big difference knowing that I have that
support.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that I can go home and just kind of like talk to any of them, and I don't take it for granted because I know a lot of people don't have that.
Your village.
Yeah, it's like my village. Yeah, they are my backbone.
I think it's important.
No, I was just going to say, I agree. I've had a lot of family support, and I think it's like for me, it's, my nuclear family. And then also I think there's, different definitions of family. So it takes a village to raise a doctor. So going through that pathway and being able to make it successfully on the other side, you definitely have to have the supportive family. I would think that it really, anybody's journey is a little bit more difficult when you don't have that support. But I think if you don't have the nuclear family support, then it is important that you rely on the support of your chosen family to help get you through, because we're all humans and we're meant to, I think we function our best when we're interacting and supporting each other. So I just think it's important, if you don't have that nuclear family, that you reach out and you find your family and find your community and then get their support.
Yeah, my best friend does not work in healthcare, and she does, but not in EMS. But after I had my first call, like traumatic call, like she was one of the people who I was like, you'll never believe what I just saw. And she just was like, what'd you see? She wasn't, you have to, it's important. Choose your family.
Although it is important for family to support you, I think we not have to put so much emphasis on having support outside of yourself. If God put something into your heart, your mind, and your soul, regardless of who agree with it or do not agree with it, we must continue the path in which we were given. Yes.
I like that. You said everybody don't get the assignment.
Right. And sometimes only you get the message. And you're trying to work on the message and live the message. And other people are like, I didn't get that message. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And you're like,
and they probably,
many are called, but few are chosen.
Right. Abigail, you had a question?
Question. This one was aimed specifically at Dr. Jubert, but I would like everybody to talk about this.
We're going to shoot it at Dr. Jubert first.
We're going to go to him first, and then we'll go. I kind of want everybody to touch on this. And have you ever experienced any trauma? But I want to take it a little bit further. Like, have you ever seen something like in your place of work? You know what I mean? That would like really, really changed you. Obviously, you see stuff every day. You know, you might hear stories or, see people when, they might be at their worst or something like that. So this is the time to kind of tell us a little bit of a story about that.
Sure. And I just would also say too, just to piggyback on that, the last piece of the family support, that has been the cornerstone for me. And I want to just send a shout out to the family that's watching and sending comments right now. Thank you all. We appreciate, we see you all. And so I think that in terms of traumatic moments for me, I think I will see different things. I mean, I think that in the work that I do, there are times when we will lose a student. And so, and that can be for a variety of different reasons. And so it's not just that the loss of the student, but then it's the loss in that community. And so it's about really working through supporting that community in such a hard time. And so when there are these different connections that a student might have, we have to be mindful of how to support and what resources we can provide to students. For me specifically, I think that this also connects to my trauma a few years back, and it also connects to family. I had a major injury, and so my family, my biological family, as well as my chosen family, stepped up in a major way to really provide support for me. My mom flew out to California to stay with and be with me for some time to make sure that I had the support. And it was interesting to see me go through that and to watch her experience what that meant for me. But it meant so much to know that I had that type of support as I was experiencing this traumatic experience. And for me, I'd never had to take off from work as long as I did. So that was a traumatic experience. Not knowing what to expect. I mean, I had to have some sedation. So it was, and I had to rely on other people. So I had to relinquish like all of the strength that I had.
I guess I would call you had to relinquish control.
Control, yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the ability to do the things that I could normally do. And so I think that was traumatic in and of itself, but to know that I had a foundation and a support system was also to know that this was something that I can make it through and that I can grow from, and that I can also tell someone else about that as well.
Excellent. You know, I'm looking at a question that came through, and I do think that thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Jubert. I'm looking at a question that says, how do you all practice vulnerability? I think that's a great question, because when you're always trying to help someone and trying to make sure you're together and you're taking care of everybody else, how do you practice vulnerability? One of our guests wanted to know that. Rod.
That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
I mean, I think you just kind of have to keep yourself open. You know, like if you're like, for me, I guess I'm the most vulnerable when I'm dealing with patients, because in order to really be empathetic with someone and reach them on their level, you have to let down your own boundaries and you have to let down your own guard. So I don't know if it's something that I consciously do or something that I just kind of unconsciously, a space that I unconsciously go into. But I think that whenever you're doing any type of compassionate work, you have to let down that guard to be vulnerable.
But do you turn it off at work, or is that just a part of you? Because I think that
I'm a Cancer, so I'm vulnerable and happy all the time. I'm like a little fudge, so I just soak it up.
I do think that it's not like you can turn. It's who you are as a person. Yeah. And I do believe that your field is chosen for you based off of who you are. I don't like to say I don't believe that you choose your field. I think the field chooses you. I think you may go that way for a minute, but eventually you're gonna go here.
Hopefully, if you listen.
If you listen, that's true. That's true.
I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
And we're talking about trauma right now. And I think what we just witnessed in the video that was put out yesterday was a very traumatic thing that took place. And I would ask Miss Karen, what would you say to Mr. Nichols' mother in this case, where she is experiencing this horrific trauma in her life? I mean, in your own opinion, what would you say to her?
Well, I'll have to be vulnerable in this moment because part of my self-care, honestly, is limiting trauma material for myself. And I have not read all the reports and seen all the videos and things that have come out. It's just in my awareness that that's happening. But from what I understand, and please pardon me not being fully aware, that's just a part of my self-care, just the limit. A lot of the trauma that's happening taking it in all day.
Well, we was talking about trauma, so I want to just bring up something that's very
relevant right now.
Right, relevant to yes.
So, let me just say, is it the person who was murdered? You're saying his mom?
Yes.
Okay.
What would you give? What kind of advice, or how do you would recommend?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would speak from the heart about, expressing empathy and meeting her where she is. I can't assume, that she wants to move into grief support or move into trauma healing. So I would really have a conversation with her about where she is and just be empathic and present with her.
Yes.
And see what her needs are.
I'm a mother, and we have a son that did 3 tours. We talk about him all the time. 3 tours in Iraq. He's actually he's on the streets. He's in and out, and so I can truly empathize, and my heart always go to something like this when I think of my child. And so
because it very easily can be any one of our children.
Be any one of our children. So I always and I know why he asked the question is, what advice? I hope and pray nothing ever happens to my child, but if I am faced with it, I know that I couldn't even imagine that mom being able to cope.
Deep pain.
Yes,
deep pain.
Yes.
Yeah. Deep pain.
So as a professional, or maybe Dr. Kourtney, as a profession, what advice would or what would you, as a mother, what can you say? Let's take it personal as a mother.
I mean, I think, to a certain degree, especially with the situation that just happened in Memphis, there's a collective trauma that happens to Black people when these kind of situations come up, even though that's not your direct family, even though that's not your direct blood. Seeing those type of situations is traumatic. And as a mother, I think most mothers collectively are empathetic to the other struggles that other mothers are going through. But I don't think that there's no way or wrong way to grieve. And unfortunately, she's now become part of a very exclusive club that nobody really wants to be a part of. And to speak to that experience, I think really you don't know that journey
till you're in,
unless you've had to walk that journey. So I would just hope, like in any other situations, that group of women who have had to experience that specific type of trauma, have reached out. And then when she's ready, she reaches out to them, because it's going to be very hard for anybody else to truly understand what that's like to lose your son in such a traumatic way, in such a public way, from an abuse power situation. It's not the normal order of things.
Oh my God, that was just amazing. Thank you.
And that's where her village is what will come in support of her in this time, because when you're grieving, sometimes you don't even know what you need. But having a presence of people who love and care for you that you can lean into, when you're in such a deep pain and sorrow.
It is deep. It is deep.
Wow. Abigail, anything else?
I'm going to ask Doc as a Black man.
Oh, okay. Well, before we go on, go ahead. Yes.
As a Black man, how would you assess the situation that took place in Memphis? Have you seen the video first and foremost?
No, much like Karen, that's a part of protecting my mental health is not looking at that. It's impactful, and I, as a Black man, I walk daily with the understanding that can be me at any moment. And so to look at that is something that's really challenging for me. I have nieces and nephews that are growing up right now. So I walk and I carry the burden of that being them, couldn't be them. And so what I would say is that we are living in a space where the oppressed will oppress. And it's a very traumatic and very sad situation. But I send my regards and my condolences and heartwarming thoughts and prayers to that family that has to be in such a situation to experience such incredible loss and such a public loss, it's really a challenging situation.
Yes. Okay. All right. I'm sorry, Abigail. Thank you so much, Doc. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So we'll do one last question before we wrap up and do our final thoughts. This one is from France Guinard. In regards on YouTube, in regards to healthcare compassion fatigue, what are some suggestions to deal with this in the moment and on the job so that it doesn't bleed into your home life and cause long-term callousness?
Okay, that's a long question.
I'm sorry. Your question.
I'll leave it on the screen first.
It's very good. I want to go ahead and read it one more time.
Yeah, I'll read it one more time because it is a very thoughtful question.
It's a thoughtful question.
In regards to healthcare compassion fatigue, what are some suggestions to deal with this in the moment and on the job so that it doesn't bleed into your home life and cause long-term callousness?
I'm going to turn that to the professionals.
Healthcare professionals.
I'll start with the counselor over here.
So I'll just mention two main things, well, three things. One, you have to have awareness that you're experiencing it. And I think one of the things we kind of talked about today is a lot of us have awareness, but sometimes you don't have awareness because you're in the flow of it. You're in the go, and other people are seeing the signs, right? So just having some self-awareness that something is not quite right and that's going on.
Seeing the signs and getting the peripheral effects.
The what?
I made up a word.
I didn't tell y'all something else. He's unlike
made up a word.
I'll be trying to do like Reverend Jesse Jackson, make up some words.
That sounds about right. That's okay.
Dictionary, Brother Carter.
But we are the ones that are not going through the phase which we're talking about. The ones outside is the one that get the effect, should I say, of.
Yeah, your coworkers, your peers, your clients, your patients.
You may not know that you're going through this trauma thing right now, but outside of you know it.
Or you could be in denial, right? You could be avoiding it. So the other couple of things for me, I talk about limiting your trauma input. So social media, the news, talking with people about things. That's a way to help support you and not let it bleed over, because you're experiencing trauma and then you're being exposed to more trauma like through the social media. And I mentioned about leaning into your support, and then how do you transition from home to work and from work to home? So having a transition ritual can be really effective. So like for me, I work in an office, so I know before I get into work, there are things I do. Like I make sure I said water is my favorite beverage, so I make sure I have water. I listen to some calming music to get my mind right, settle myself. When I get to work, turn on my computer. So that's my ritual. And then before I leave, I'm making sure I'm not taking any materials home with me. When I go home, I'm pretty much dusting my feet off as much as I can to get into my car to transition into my family life. So developing a transition ritual can be really helpful as well.
Wow, that's deep.
I don't know why the Lord set you next to me, but he shall make his plain, because I do need to work more on that. I'm better, but turning it off once I come home, because my team, my husband can attest, I tend to just keep working. And it's actually not work for me, but I'm not turning it off. And so that's the unhealthy part, is being able to turn it off. I think this is a great way. And final thought, go ahead. We have, we're going to move forward with our final thoughts. This has been a great, oh my God, I wish we can keep going on. This has been a great show. I think it's been helpful. I love to put it's been helpful for me. So I thank each one of you guys. The way we always end the show, we go around the room and we allow our guests to share your experience on the Love and Victory Show. Tell them about how they can find you, and a little bit about yourself. So I will start with Dr. Kourtney Sims, and from Dr. Kourtney Sims, we'll go up on the screen, and then we'll come around the room to my sweet Amanda, and then we'll end off with sorry guys, Karen. There you go. All righty, so Dr. Kourtney Sims.
So anybody want to find me, all my social media?
Before you go there, what was your experience on the show?
Oh, my experience on the show was great. It's always been great. Not my first rodeo here. So it's always good to participate in the conversation. Like I was telling some of the other guests before we started, the time goes so quickly. So I really enjoyed the conversation. I think it's an important topic. You could probably have several more shows about compassion and empathy and how to balance everything. But in general, I think that it is just more important for people to share their experiences around burnout and share the practices, even if it's not on a platform like this, like a podcast, but just sharing amongst their circle what they do to practice balance, what they do to practice self-care, because in sharing, it gives that air of vulnerability to let other people know, you know, I may seem like I have everything together, but these are the specific steps that I have to take to have that air that I have everything together. It doesn't just happen and everything falls into place. Like I have to take specific steps. I have to have specific rituals. I have to do very specific things in order to have that balance and not fall into compassion fatigue.
You don't just wake up that beautiful. You do a few
It's some
things
work.
to
It's
get-
some work. Okay.
Some workshop. And you got to pray, you know, having that space in the morning. Like for me, you know, that the point of AM and PM rituals is very important. Having some space in the morning for devotion.
That is
Very important for me.
All righty then. And of course, Doc over there. You want to go ahead and say thank you.
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you for this particular opportunity to really just speak about something that is really important to me because of the work that I do, the work that you all do, and the work that many others are doing when we are supporting and caring for others. And I'm appreciative of having an opportunity for this particular platform to provide that particular information. And one of the things before I would like to also say too, as it relates to the idea of this, is that when we think about compassion fatigue, it's also important to think about it from the standpoint of what our leadership is doing in our various organizations, because our leaders can be some of the people that are also creating the stressful environment that our workers and our folks are working in. And so it's important for me to acknowledge that and to address that and to charge leaders with thinking about what it means to recognize when your employer might be experiencing compassion fatigue and how you can show up and respond and react to that. That can be life-changing, and that is very important to think about. In terms of me, Karen and I are with J&J Partners. You can find us at jnjpartners.org, where you will find information about the services that we provide in terms of speaking to various constituents about ways and strategies to manage compassion fatigue. And we would welcome to have conversations with many people.
Great. And then on to Amanda.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time. I was a little quiet, but I was just like absorbing everything everyone said. It was so good. So I'm still learning. This is my first rodeo. So I'm still learning, but I learned a lot today. It's nice having an open conversation. I think it's really important to find people that you can talk to. I guess they don't necessarily have to understand you, but someone who will just like listen and, you know, kind of take what you have to say. And
well, actually, sometimes just being in the room. Just being present, because knowing that you're not alone.
Right.
And so I'm really glad that you took the opportunity to come.
I'm really happy to be here
and be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
All right, then. And is there...
I'm not big on social media.
Not big on social media.
No.
That's so healthy. That's so healthy.
I think that's very good. I think that's very good. And two, come on here. Come on, Miss Karen.
Well, this was my first rodeo also.
Okay.
But I felt very welcome from the very first interaction with Abigail, and even from the time I walked in today and joined this conversation. So thank you for the invitation. And it's been a conversation. It's, like you said, it wasn't an interview or anything. So I really appreciate that style. And am I giving final thoughts?
Yes, you are.
So final thoughts are, if you find if you're working in traumatic situations where you're connecting and supporting people who have trauma stories, be intentional about taking care of yourself. And we use this term self-care, and sometimes it can just get in and out and, become taboo. But I like to talk about personal renewal. Like, what are you doing to nourish your mind and your body when you're feeling depleted or when your empathy reserves are diminished? So that personal renewal, what recharges you? How do you put your oxygen mask on first before you are supporting and helping someone else with their oxygen mask? Okay. So that's the final thought I'd like to leave. And Dr. Jubert mentioned jjpartners.org or jubertpartners@gmail.com. So thank you for the invitation.
I tell you, you have been a true blessing for me. If I can be very honest with you, recognizing things, you know, we call people triggers. Today I call it a hand clap because I'm able to see the growth in me, just having you next to me, really speaking and drawing out some of the diamonds, and I'm not going to say particular diamonds throughout, because you help, you shine, you put a mirror to me to let me see just how much growth I've had as an individual. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being a part of the Love and Victory Show. I want to actually do something that I don't normally do. Amanda, I want to give you 2 tickets. We have some free tickets that have been given to us by another guest that came on the show. He has a healthy, clean comedy show that will take place February 4th. And
so
I'm going to give you 2 tickets to go.
Thank you.
The fact that you came in, that you're so young, that you're eager to want to have a healthy life.
Yes.
I want to be in the Love and Victory Show with Val. I want to be part of pouring into you.
Yeah, thank you. Oh my
up.
God, I'm so excited. I've been wanting to go to one.
Oh God, well, I don't even know where that. I mean, the Lord just dropped it in my spirit.
Thank you. Yes.
So
oh my God, I'm so
going to
excited.
give you those 2 tickets, and so you can get with Abigail, and Abigail will give her that information.
Date.
And then I have to turn to my sister, my friend, and I know my husband has to have his closing thoughts. Not taking anything away from you, not taking anything, but Dr. Kourtney Sims is always giving. She's always doing for everybody else, and she takes very little time for herself. And so, so much so that I know her. And she's always trying to fix me, but I want to fix you. I want to fix you too, and your husband with a night of laughter. So I'm going to give 2 more tickets to you. And
double date.
Yes.
See you there.
I will see you. Yes. So again, thank you so much. I think we just had 4 tickets left. Yeah, I think that's okay. But what I'm going to do is, because I can't just give them and not you, I'm going to reach out. No, I'm going to get you 2 tickets. Don't worry about it. You're getting 2 tickets too. So we're going to make sure that
it's going to be a group event.
It's going to be a group.
Thank you very much.
We're good? Okay. Yeah, we're good. Okay, then. There we go. So, Love and Victory Show is, we'll get you all the information.
Laughter is good medicine.
It's a very nice, it's downtown. You guys are going to enjoy it. It's going to be a night for you guys to fix yourself up, laugh, enjoy. And before I close this out, Brother Carter, you have anything that you want to leave the people with?
Yeah, that they just did.
Yes. Oh, you didn't shout out your house.
So
find you.
It's drkourtney.com. Insta is Dr. Kourtney's book is just Dr. Kourtney. It's Kourtney with a K.
Kourtney with a K. Great.
Yeah. Final thoughts. Don't take yourself so serious. Take some time out of your busy schedule and just laugh. Just enjoy. Take a sip of the coffee. Smell the roses. Just say, well, woosah for yourself sometime. Everything's going to be all right.
All righty then. And again, every Saturday morning from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., you can catch the Love and Victory Show with Val. Don't forget to go on, register, download that app. We have an app. Can you believe that? This is a show that started just about 2 years ago, has an app. So we are on the Google Store. We're on what else are we on? iPhone. Yeah, see, I'm not
App Store.
App Store. There you go. So the young people can help us. Go over there and download. You can catch us on all platforms. LV with Val. And again, until next time, we love you guys. Can everybody turn to the camera and tell the people we love them?